Yeah, he said it won't be long. You guys ready over there? Ready on the right? What's that? North Smithfield Town Council, March 21st, 2022. Madam Clerk, will you please lead us in the prayer and the pledge? Roll call, please.
Here.
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 Here. Typically what we do, we have executive session at the end of the meeting, so we don't hold anybody up. However, today we have some attorneys present, and we're paying them by the hour. So what we'd like to do is we're going to move to executive session right now. It won't take long. We'll come right back. We'll do open forum, and we'll go right through the agenda. The very first thing on the agenda after open forum is we're going to do for the Eagle Scout presentation. Okay? We're going to move that right to the top. All right? Is there a motion to move into executive session at this time?
Mr.
Thank you. Yep, okay. Okay, is there a motion to move into executive session according to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation? Dominic Pratt versus Town of North Smithfield et al. Superior Court. Case number PC 2013-4527. And Mark Morris versus Town of North Smithfield et al. Superior Court, case number PC 2013-4528. Municipal Court case number 060-22021. In compliance with the court order to clean the property at 282 Quaker Highway. Donald and Dorothy Desper, property owners. That's a motion. Excuse me, will anybody entertain that motion? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. We're going to move into executive session. We'll be right out at this time. I think we can do right over here. Folks, I apologize. We typically do executive session at the end of the meeting, but we had some attorneys, and I didn't want to be paying attorneys. Well, we didn't want to be paying attorneys to be just sitting here listening to the meeting and waiting till the end. So, again, I apologize. But we are going to move on after we, but I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
All right. Joanne, roll call, please. Come out of executive session and indicate that no votes were taken, please.
Yes.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Vadney. I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session and indicate that one vote was taken. And seal the minutes. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Open forum pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-6. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to be heard during open forum at this time? No, we do open forum first, but I appreciate that. Oh, here we go.
All set.
All set, sir.
My name is Stephen Barenbach, and I'm speaking on behalf of the North Smithfield Conservation Commission. I reside at 42 School Street. I have been on the commission since January 2020 and have been secretary since February 2021. Am I getting feedback on this? It's too close? What is the ideal? Okay, thank you. Conservation Commission has drafted bylaws and sent them months ago to the town administrator and the town council to have them reviewed and hopefully adopted. According to Mr. Igliozzi, the attorney for the town, commissions in North Smithfield do not have the authority to independently adopt bylaws and must seek approval from the town governing body, namely the town council. However, the town council has not acted on our request, and from the very limited feedback our chair has received, we are concerned that the request is being disregarded. The bylaws have not been placed on the council agenda, and we are frustrated and disappointed that our elected town officials appear to us as not being communicative, transparent, or forthcoming about the delay or the reasons why the proposed bylaws or some modified version of them are not being considered. Last October, an invite to a town council meeting was extended by Mr. Beauregard to our chair, but it had to be declined as both of the CC officers were going to be out of town on that date and unavailable. Are we still getting feedback here?
There's still feedback, but
You're good? Okay. There has been no subsequent invite. I am here on behalf of the commission to urge the town council to consider our request and to approve the draft bylaws. Allow me to provide some reasons behind our request. By the way, many other towns have bylaws for conservation commissions, including towns in Rhode Island. The most important reason is simple enough. Bylaws are necessary for the efficient and effective conduct of the commission. Commissioners are volunteer town residents with widely varying amounts of experience and knowledge of conducting business as a public body. When these volunteers officially meet, they need rules to guide them and to assist them in conducting the business of the commission. Rules and procedures are needed in order to conduct discussion, to effect action, to resolve conflicts. Indeed, there must be rules and procedures to help us work together at all. Another reason is that it is not sufficient for the commission to follow the law, in quotes, or to simply abide by Robert's rules. In addition to not being well known and sometimes difficult to find or decipher, state statutes, the town charter, and even town ordinances and Robert's rules are or can be general in their language. It is bylaws that provide the specificity to an organization. Parliamentary authority, such as Robert's rules, controls all matters not covered by the statutes, charters, ordinances, or bylaws. In other words, bylaws allow the commission to adopt rules and controls that are seen as necessary to meet its specific requirements. The bylaws set the framework for the commission the bylaws set the framework of the commission in a more detailed and specific way than statutes, charters, or ordinances. To name a few of these detailed and specific features included in bylaws: the role and duties of the commission, the powers and duties of officers, the election of officers, rules for conducting meetings, the number constituting a quorum so actions can be taken, and removal from office, and importantly, rules for public participation. In addition to the features of bylaws, there are benefits. You've already heard me speak of the important benefits they provide in assisting the commission in carrying out its purposes, in providing for orderly and democratic means of conducting business. In addition, they provide a single place where members, new and old, can learn key features of how the commission operates. The same holds true for the general public, which also benefits from the transparency bylaws provide. Yet another reason is that it is too much to ask of citizen volunteers to reestablish or create anew the rules and procedures by which the commission operates each time the membership shifts or the vagaries of meeting demand. The bylaws help prevent on-the-spot decision-making and procedural vacuums with the inevitably resulting undemocratic or even chaotic meeting management. This result can too easily happen in the absence of bylaws. The late Supreme Court Justice Felix Frankfurter once said, "The history of liberty has largely been the history of the observance of procedural safeguards." We think the adoption of bylaws, with only slight exaggeration, fits this quote. Let me provide you with just one example of a not-so-happy story. It involves the onboarding of an entirely new conservation commission after all the previous members resigned en masse a couple of years ago. A new group of town volunteers were appointed by this very council, Mr. DePault, who's here tonight, our current chair, and I being among them, and we are the only ones remaining. The town has been unable to fill the full 7 members of the commission for almost 2 years now. Part of the reason, in our estimation, is that citizens do not know what we do. We joined wanting to contribute our time and energy, but struggled with what we were about, how to go about offering advice, how to operate properly. Basically, we looked across the table at each other wondering, what is it we're supposed to be doing, and how do we go about doing it? Whatever other matters of expertise or qualification they had, most of these new members had never even heard of Robert's rules and were certainly unfamiliar with state statutes and the town charter. A set of bylaws at that time would have been invaluable to ensure stability, continuity, and structure. In closing, Alice Sturgis, the author of the Standard Code of Parliamentary Procedure, which is a simpler alternative to Robert's Rules, makes an interesting comment. Almost finished. "Good bylaws alone," this is a quote, "do not make an effective organization. They are an outline of its structure. However, suitable bylaws are necessary to enable an organization to function well." She adds, "Bylaws should be custom-made to fit each individual organization." These are reasons the Conservation Commission strongly but respectfully urges the Town Council to put this matter on its agenda. The Commission is agreeable to working with you to see this through. We have copies of the bylaws, draft bylaws available if anyone wants them tonight, or we can certainly email them to you. We appreciate your time and consideration of this request. Thank you.
You know what, you're right. I think you might have just got, because we did extend an invitation a while back. I think since then you might have got lost in the shuffle, a lot of stuff going on. But Joanne, can you put them on the agenda for the first meeting in May, please? Okay?
Thank you.
And we'll address this, the whole thing in May. But we can't really discuss it now because it's not on the agenda. But is there just a few things going on in April that we're kind of iffy about? I want to make sure that, because one meeting I may not be around, but in May I will be here, and we'll address this in May.
Thank you.
Sound fair? Okay. Mr. DePaul, did you want to speak, or?
Thank you for your time and your effort and consideration.
Thank you. Mike Clifford.
Mike Clifford, 489 Black Plain Road. Just as a follow-up to the comments that we just made, I had made the suggestion years ago that when people are appointed to a town board, that section of the charter that's applicable to them and any ordinances that fall under their purview should be supplied to them. And I know that since there have been new members put on the Budget Committee, which has two sections of the charter relative to the Budget Committee, I don't believe that tradition has followed, and I don't think those people are given the adequate background materials and access to it that they need to have. So, and secondly, if members haven't been attending for some period of time, I believe that in your own ordinances, there's a requirement that anybody who misses more than 3 meetings is referred to the town council by the chair of the committee, and that person is then reconsidered for being appointed to that board. I know I was, as the chair of the Budget Committee, was questioned one time. We had to report that one of our members was absent too frequently. He had a long-term serious terminal illness, unfortunately. And but that was in the bylaws, and that's why I contacted the council at the time. So I think it's what they said, people don't really understand what I'm supposed to be doing if you're newly appointed and there's no transition team to give you a little bit of background about what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to meet, and whose job is what. So that would be helpful. But what I really was speaking for tonight is, again, with the charter, I would really appreciate it if the administrator's proposed budget was posted on the town website. By charter, it was to be handed in to the Budget Committee by the second Monday in March, which was like a week and a half ago now, and it still isn't on the town website. And I've had to I filed an APRA request for it after I think I filed the APRA request last Wednesday, and I still haven't gotten it. I don't know why it's not on the town website, but I'd really like to know what the status is, and could I have a copy of it? Because when this discussion takes place tonight, about the reevaluation, a lot of people are going to be a little more curious about what the ramifications of those reevaluations are going to be. And if we at least could see what the percentage increase was and what you were looking for to collect in tax dollars in the next year's budget, even though it's a proposed, I know it's going to change, but it would be helpful to have that information to make a true assessment as to, how's this going to really impact me? Anybody know why it's not on the website? Can we put it on the website?
I'm not even sure what the status is right now, so I'm sure as soon as it's complete, it'll be put on the website.
Well, it should have been complete 2 weeks ago.
As soon as it's complete, I'm sure he will do that.
And Mr. Vadney, I know one time Mrs. Hamilton was negligent about getting it in on time, and you brought it up as an issue. So I would appreciate, the Charter Commission also put in a provision in the last revisions that they had, which didn't make the ballot, but one of them was that there be a penalty for not following the charter, because there are many things in that charter we don't follow, and there's no penalty. So I really would like to see us follow the charter and make that budget available to the townspeople, the people who pay taxes, and that you're supposed to be following the charter. So that would
Okay.
be appreciated. Secondly, I'm here again tonight to say, you told me you'd give me the answer when I questioned why we couldn't have one question on the ballot and with 3 choices for people to vote on: remodel the current building for the police, build a new one, or neither of the above. Everybody at the state is saying that can easily be done on a ballot question. You've made the comment that Mr. Iglesias made the comment that bond council didn't recommend it or said we couldn't do it. And I've asked repeatedly, why can't we do it? And can they put that in writing? And you have said several times that there'd be no problem in getting that in writing. So,
I did say that, and you will get that, I promise.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Art Bassett. Thank you.
I take it we are going to be addressed the reevaluation when it comes up, right?
I'm going to allow the people to
Yeah,
ask
okay.
questions, yeah? I would like to thank Mr. Bassett for coming tonight. Him and I have been speaking on this issue, and he agreed to come here and discuss. He kind of got the ball rolling with me as far as the having the meeting with the, and I appreciate,
Yeah, no.
and the
no, thank you.
reevaluation. I appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your help.
So, Art Bassett, 58 Elizabeth Ave. So we're up for reval this year, and I know there's a bunch that goes along with that, but, I know Mr. Beauregard brought it up probably in January and asked some preliminary questions. After watching the January meeting, though, it got a little bit off track. So, so I put together a presentation. I can email it to everyone here. There are some spreadsheets attached that are much easier to read in email, frankly, than, I don't have an 11 by 17 printer, So 2018 or 19, whatever you want to call it, in 2022, revaluations performed every 4 years.
It's every
Current-
3 years, sir.
Every
3 years we
Every
do.
3 years, okay, sorry. I thought it was 4. They actually told me it was 4, but okay. So I had a conversation today with the folks at NE Reval, and I'll fill you in on that as well. So current process, from my perspective as a homeowner and taxpayer, is not transparent. So, and I'll go through that experience. Information used in the revaluation is not published in full on the NE Reval website. So each of us that own property in town have a card on the website. Anybody can go look it up. It's missing the depreciation percentage. So if you're assessed $100,000 but have $20,000 in 20% depreciation, you pay based on the $80,000 left. It's missing the overall home condition, and it's missing any explanation of large changes. So in going through that, and I'll speak to it a little closer in a minute, and I won't take too much time here, but in addition, the schedule and steps of the process are vague on the North Smithfield website. They actually refer you to the state statute, which in and of itself is probably 3 pages long. I'm not sure the average taxpayer is really going to take that much time to go through it. So love to see a frequently asked questions on our site. NE Reval actually has a pretty good one on their site, but you got to dig a little bit to find it. So current example. So this is my house, 58 Elizabeth Ave, 2019. Revaluation letter was never received. I happen to have my own personal policy. I've been in this town 21 years. I challenge it every time. I want you to explain to me why you're raising my valuation and what you're raising it by. Town provided it to me in 2019 once requested. My building value, and in the spreadsheet I break down land value versus building value increase. My building value at that time increased 59.98%. That's 25.23% above the average in my neighborhood and against the comparables that NE Reval provided me at the time. They provided 11 comparable structures. So when I called the town to kind of sort this out, it took multiple phone calls. I'm talking more than 6 or 7. Each party telling me that the other party is responsible. No, you have to call NE Reval for that. No, you have to call the town for that. The first 3 calls to NE Reval were never returned. So we're paying for a service that they're not providing, which is one of the issues I take with it. I ended up challenging that reval, and it ended with a $48,300 reduction in my building value. That's an annual tax savings to me of $789 for each year. My issue with this is that if I'm elderly and I'm not paying attention, if I'm a newlywed and I just moved to town and I'm not paying attention, I'm getting a giant tax increase because I either wasn't familiar with the process or didn't know enough how to challenge it. 2022 experience so far, my building value increased 49.17%. That's almost 20% above average. And I reached out to them for some more information on that spreadsheet that I have tied to the back of this presentation. I don't have condition values, comparables confirmed, or depreciation. So in speaking with NE Reval today, they actually told me, oh, well, we do provide your building condition, but you have to click print on the website card in order to see it. So in the kind of, I said, all right, let me pull it up, and I pulled it up and I hit print. And I said, well, that's great. It tells me I'm average. What's that mean? Where's the legend? There's no legend. There's no explanation. And the guy kind of agreed with me on the phone and said, all right, well, we'll have to get back to you on that. So again, The issue here is, this town is paying for a service you're not getting. These are the professionals. My estimation is they should change this whole process, and this is gonna put more work on them, might put a little more work on the town. Any reval should provide a report to the town officials, and I'm told today that they actually do provide a report. I don't know what that looks like. The gentleman I spoke to today had no idea what that looked like. The report needs to include the following at a minimum: prior, current values per property, letter value grade. There's an A to E assignment for every structure. It's a subjective assignment. The guy walks by and says, that's a pretty good looking building, we'll give it a B or an A. In my challenge in 2019, they dropped ours from A to C. No explanation, they just did. Depreciation, land value change, building value change should all be included in that, and it's all stuff that took me 20 minutes to put into a spreadsheet. I mean, this isn't something you have to build 10 times. Build it once and you guys can have a report that you can actually look at as a town and say, where are we going up and down? Any reval, I think, should update their online database cards to include depreciation percentage, letter value grade, and then on top of that, you've got people like me with a 59% last time and a 49% this time. I went up $130,000 this time. I'd like to know why. I'm not just gonna pay that. So I'd like to see them provide a written explanation for any deviation on land or building. And to be fair, the land is pretty close. It's all within 0.25% across the board. Buildings are all over the map. I've got neighbors who have an 8% increase. I got 49. No idea why. There's one house in my neighborhood that was purchased, gutted, and 100% redone. They got 100%. I get that. That's easily explained, right? And then I think the town of North Smithfield needs to do a better job publicizing those important dates. When's the letter coming? Sometime in the spring. We don't know. And then the town should include some kind of a guide or, you know, contacts where they can, you know, folks in town can call up and just say, what do I need to do? I have no idea what's going on. And to that I will credit the tax assessor's office. They are actually pretty good at answering questions. The only caveat to that, I will say, and Mr. Administrator, I'd ask you to implement this. I can call anyone in town hall based on their listing on the town website. I think once they've said, hi, my name is Art, how can I help you? No idea who I'm talking to when I call town hall.
I'll address that.
So that's just I did customer service for a number of years. And, yeah. So if you guys have any questions, if you want me to email it, I'm happy to do so. I'll let you know how mine turns out. But again, folks that aren't paying attention are getting rooked. And the other question I do have out to any reval that they have not answered yet, we've got at least half a dozen, probably a dozen houses in town. Mr. Vadnais, I think, is one, that your building value decreased with this evaluation.
It's not my house.
I don't know how that happens.
It's not my house.
Okay. I don't know how that
Mine
happens.
went up.
Maybe I have you it's with somebody else. There is a town official that I saw it went down. I don't know how that happens in this market. So, love to see an explanation of why something decreases.
No, and I agree with you, which is why I asked you to come here
Yeah,
tonight.
no,
And
absolutely.
my biggest concern is for the vast majority of people who just go about their lives and
Yeah,
they don't know. They just get their tax bill and they pay it.
yeah.
That's it. And that's why I wanted to see a trigger. Well, I'll discuss this, you know, when we bring it up. But I wanted to see a trigger in place that if you went up very high compared to other people around, there should be a separate notification. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks.
Is there anybody else that would like to be heard during open forum that didn't have an opportunity to sign the sheet? Okay, we're going to move on then. If we're going to make a change here to the agenda, we're going to move up new business A. That's new business A. Discussion by council, vote or other action on presentation by Brady Kofsky for his Eagle Scout project.
It's nice to see everybody today. How are y'all doing? So, as you might be able to tell, I'm not quite a regular here, so so you might not, I might not be doing things the way most people do them. I am doing an Eagle project. For those of you who cannot tell, my Eagle project has to do with these. And for those who do not know what these are, and I'm sure everybody knows what these are the reflective address markers. These help citizens throughout North Smithfield, and especially first responders like the chief over there, identify what housing and how to get to a resident's house. If you can please change it. So my project is working into conjunction with North Smithfield Fire Department in making reflective address markers for the residents of North Smithfield absolutely free of charge. This is an example. Actually, this is the exact same sign. And we will try to make 200 of these for free. As you can probably tell, and as what I've previously stated, these will help emergency response times for both police and fire. It'll help differentiate between communities and problematic areas that public safety officers need help with. This is an example. Actually, this is my house right here, Tulog Road in North Smithfield. But the house right over here is actually an unmarked house, which is 445 Log Road in Burrville, which should have a blue marker. So if you were a first responder, I'm sure you can see why that would be problematic, especially for when you're arriving at a scene. This would be in conjunction with the North Smithfield Fire Department personnel, along with help from my parents, my Eagle coach over here, Mr. Martin, and as well as the troop. I will oversee assembly of each reflective sign using the template supplies provided by the generous North Smithfield Fire Department, and it will be funded by my fundraisers. This is the template and supplies that will be provided by the North Smithfield Fire Department from their existing stock, and they will reorder supplies on my behalf if necessary to do so. This is the flyer that we have actually already set out to many problematic neighborhoods the fire department has deemed in more susceptible areas. We're also handing these out in specific locations. We're going to try to put some in the town hall if that would be accepted. This flyer is distributed throughout neighborhoods. Yep, and yes, oh yes, it was published in the town newsletter as well. And if you can change the next one, please. So my fundraising goal is $2,000, which will supply reflective address markers for 200 people at the cost of $10 per address marker. I plan to accomplish this through bake sales and donations from my family and from the community. Bake sales so far have been very successful. We have gotten $1,400 from bake sales alone. And I have gotten $400 from my personal family and friends as well. This is a pie chart. I'm gonna give you a few minutes to go through this. This is about all the money that we will have to spend throughout each endeavor. And again, a lot of this is there are specific things that if we have any money left over, it'll all go to the fire department. And any stock that we might have bought from the fire department, like extra metal or anything, it all is kept in the fire department. As Narragansett Council, BSA requires. There are safety precautions that I have to take during this endeavor. And those include just first aid, COVID-19 protocols, and adequate food and water throughout each presentation or each workday. Excuse me. Thank you. So these are the hours that I believed it would take. We've actually already doubled these hours. All hours in this chart have been doubled. I think we've had about 7 people and help just yesterday, I believe. We went out and we made 60 signs just yesterday. And we definitely have more than 10 to 14 hours for the project, far more than that. You can switch. I would like to take any questions at this time. Is there any questions that I might have for anybody? For those of you who do not know, I'm looking for any money left over from the town grants or like anything left over in the budget to help successfully finish this project for town safety.
Brady, how did you come up with this idea to do this specific project?
Well, my stepfather was actually right over here. This kind gentleman over here was actually a firefighter in Nasonville before they disbanded, and they had troubles identifying houses. And he voiced those concerns, and I kind of just went with it. I realized that could be a possible issue.
Great idea. Anybody else have any questions?
Are you providing those signs, or are you actually installing them as well?
So, due to liability reasons, we can't actually install them, but we will be giving them to people only based on whether or not they cannot go out themselves and pick them up. Like, so if a person is like stuck at home or like elderly or something like that, then we will deliver. But other than that, everything has to be it has to be through the fire department or like a pickup time or something like that.
You know, I think it's a great idea because when I moved to North Smithfield about 12 years ago, and I was going down Log Road and I got lost.
Yeah.
I was so shocked. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not in North Smithfield anymore. I'm in Burrville.
Yeah.
And then I'm not in Burrville anymore. I'm in Smithfield. And the only thing that I knew I was in the right place was the reflective signs.
Yeah.
Another example is, Rocky Hill Road. Rocky Hill Road, you know, goes from Lincoln to Smithfield to North Smithfield.
Yeah.
And again, there's no marker that says you're now entering Smithfield, but the reflective
Yeah.
indicators.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I could see how it would be troublesome
Yeah.
to paramedics
Yeah.
and the fire department.
Yeah, absolutely. There are specific areas that the fire department asked us to target, and some of them we're still in the process of targeting. Some of them have been completed. Areas like Log Road, there are Madity, Black Plain Road, just areas like that that are troublesome.
Brady, so if you finish this project, there'll be automatically you'll make Eagle Scout? This is the last hurdle for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I have, I think this is the last, the Eagle Project's the last thing.
Okay.
Well, yeah, paperwork. Yeah, you have to fill out a lot of paperwork. That's about it. Yeah.
Achieving Eagle Scout is very impressive. It's a big deal.
Thank
Congratulations.
You. Thank you.
Is there anybody that had anything to?
How many numbers have already been handed out to homeowners?
We haven't handed any out, but we have created over 60 signs. Yes.
How many flyers have you put out?
We have put over, well, let's see, I believe we have handed out personally, I think, well, let's see, we made copies, so about over 150 maybe, probably.
Mr. President, I have a question for Brady. Brady, a question and then a suggestion. Question being, are there mounting brackets for these?
So each sign has holes on them.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna have, we leave it up to the residents to put them up themselves
Yes.
and screw them in.
Brady,
but-
hold one up. I think he wants to take a picture of you holding up the sign. As you-
Okay,
as you-
I'm
as you-
sorry.
as you- Sorry for the interruption.
So, yeah, I was just, well, Brady was explaining
Yeah.
about the mounting possibilities, like I'm thinking mailboxes or a mounting stake in the ground.
Yeah.
Mine's in the front of my yard with a mounting stake.
Yeah. So, so due to liability reasons, we can't do it for the residents, but they do come with holes already in them.
Yeah.
So they just have to screw them in.
So if I was following your presentation, the bake sales have been very favorable, 1,400.
Yeah.
Your family's giving you 4.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see if I can do the math, that's 18.
Yep,
You picked up a little money here tonight,
yep,
don't be bashful, ask these people to make a contribution.
yes. So, yeah, absolutely. Any money that we can take to fulfill the fundraiser goal of 2,000 would be much appreciated.
Dig in, everybody, come on, give the young man $5, $10. Give him your lunch money for tomorrow. Sure you can, Claire. Of course.
Thanks, Brady. Anybody else have any questions?
Can we give Brady a minute to collect some money?
Yep.
Because there is money coming forward.
Actually, I don't have a Venmo account. My mother does. I wasn't in charge of the Venmo account.
Brady, the solicitor has some money here. This gentleman here.
All right,
donated
thank
some
you
money.
very much. I will, I'll make sure. I want to thank you guys for your time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yes, please, yeah, we'll leave right in the town clerk's office, absolutely. So, Brady, if I may follow up, you wanted to leave some of the signs or the material at town hall?
So we wanted to leave actually some pamphlets at the
Pamphlets, yes, absolutely. Sure, yeah, I'll be happy to take that, thank you. I'm gonna give it to the town clerk, because that's where all the traffic is.
We'll just wait for Claire to finish writing her check. Yeah.
Yeah, Brady.
You want to?
Before I sit down, I do want to thank the chief for being so cooperative. Thank you, chief. I really appreciate that.
Brady, town clerk wants to see you.
I'd like to see something done, especially for seniors. A lot of people don't have extinguishers, the special, right, for the cooking area, et cetera. And even on a ladder, I can't reach, and have people checking the smoke detectors. That would be the best. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of old people in this town that should be on ladders. But those would be two of the greatest. And
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna move on, just another one, there's gonna be two more changes, but the next change to the agenda. Okay. All right, we're gonna move down to, if you look at number 8B, discussion by council, vote or other action on mobile food truck license. Blunt Fine Foods. Lisa? How do you pronounce your last name? Benvey. Lisa Benvey. Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, so, I've asked for a license to, show up 3 nights during the summer, June the 9th, July the 7th, and August the 11th. Those are all Thursdays. So I'm gonna park the Blount Clam Shack food truck up there at Wright's Farm, Wright's Dairy Farm, and they're gonna have like a little festival, you know, just a small scale. My truck serves clam cakes, chowder, and lobster rolls. And we're just going to serve them to the guests of the of Wright's Dairy Farm.
Can you give me those dates again?
They're Thursdays, one each month, June the 9th, July the 7th, and August the 11th. We're there from 4 to 8 p.m. I probably will get through the Providence traffic because we come from Warren.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? A
Quick
motion
one,
to-
quick one, Mr. President.
Yep, go ahead.
So you have an established rest truck, correct? Serves.
Blount is an established.
Oh, I know Blount's, yeah,
so,
yeah.
So it's really not established. They bought it last summer.
Yep.
It's brand new. They went to 5 events, but it was too much for them to handle with so they hired me, and now I'm in charge of all the events and driving. I learned how to drive it today.
So you have all the paperwork from Rhode Island Department of Health?
I do.
Safe, serve safe, all that type of thing
All
going
those
on.
things I can show them upon request.
Thank you.
Okay?
I just have one suggestion before you make the motion.
Mhm.
So your hours are gonna be 4 to 8, correct?
Mhm.
May I suggest maybe going 4 to 9 in case you're a little busy and you don't, so you can
Generally,
carry?
we stick around until the last lobster roll's been served.
Okay.
So we're not like tight on the end.
No, just for our purposes, we'll
Certainly.
give you the,
The license doesn't have a time frame. She's just stating when she's gonna.
Oh,
be
okay.
there.
all right.
If she has a license, she can be there till whatever time. I'm sure they have to work it out with Mr. Pichetti over there from Wright's, because that's where it is. So,
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve Blount Fine Food for their food truck that will be at Wright's Farm on June 9th, July 7th, and August 11th.
It's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions?
everything has all been signed off on, all the paperwork is there, all the appropriate sign-offs are there, so we're good to go.
I just can't believe you learned how to drive the truck today.
Well, they said drive it, and it's big, but it's pretty straight. I imagine if.
You ever see those Amazon drivers?
Yeah,
Come
you
on.
will have to take turns, though, into the,
It's you're really high up. I know what it's like to be a school bus driver now, but it was, we took it from its winter home in Fall River right to Warren, and drove all along the waterfront. I didn't hit anybody, or the gentleman who is in charge of it, my kind of boss, he lost a few fingernails and hairs. But it was great. It was really, but yeah, we brought it over today, and I have events and management and planning in my background, but this mobile thing is new to me, so.
Oh, good
But
luck.
I'm very enthusiastic and highly capable.
I hope you make a lot of money.
I hope so too. It's going to be a great summer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you
You're
very
good
much.
to go.
Appreciate it.
Okay, now, another change to the agenda. We're going to move old business D. Old business D. Discussion by council, vote or other action on update of town's reevaluation and process of notification. I requested this to be, I put this on the agenda for the purpose of probably, most overused word in politics, transparency. I want to just get more, I want people to understand the process. I want people to understand how they can go about if they disagree, if they want to appeal. Simple questions, general questions that most people are not aware of. I know it's explained on the town website, but maybe we can give a little clarification here. Did you take any notes when Mr. Bassett was talking?
I got a copy of his packet.
Perfect, because he raises some very good points, and that I would just like if you could see if you could answer some of those questions that he had. I also have a couple of additional questions that some people emailed me.
Okay. So I just wanted to start off with just general info again. Is this on? Can you hear me? Yeah, it's on. So you might have read this in the newsletter. If not, North Smithfield residents and business owners should have received your reval letter stating their new assessment. A statistical reval is done every 3 years. A full one is every 9 years. These are done to determine current market values within the town. The town of North Smithfield had a full reval ending December 31st, 2021. North Smithfield residents and business owners seen an overall average of 17% increase. About 433 had no changes in their value. About 100 went up 1%. About 270 went up greater than 5%. 400 went up greater than 10%. And about 3,000 went up more than 10%. Please be aware that the municipalities are not allowed to increase the revenue based on the revaluation. Therefore, the rates are usually lowered because you see such an increase in the value. The state of Rhode Island's real estate market has experienced large increases overall, even in motor vehicles also. Any changes in the value have no effect on the tax rate. The tax rate is determined by the budget. If you feel that your assessment is not a fair market value, you have the right to reach out to Northeast Reval like you said you did. As of right now, they told me they have about 51 scheduled informal hearings. They usually see about 5% overall residents. We're only at 1.1%. So we're pretty good at informal hearings right now. You have until March 25th, so this Friday, to appeal with them. After that, you have the right to appeal to myself after you receive the tax bill. In comparison, Barrowville and Situate. Barrowville is a little bit bigger than us. Situate's a little bit smaller. Their averages are about 19% overall. And you said you had questions.
Questions from Ms. St. George? Mr. Clifford?
Yeah,
Just, you know what, I guess I got to go make this a little formal. I will entertain a motion to open up this agenda item to public comment. Do we have a second on that?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Could you repeat, first of all, could you repeat the percentages that you were saying? You gave 3 classifications. 4,400 homes went up more than 10%. What was the breakdown again, the other two?
No, 100 went up greater than 1%. 270 went up greater than 5%.
Yeah.
400 went up greater than 10%. And about 3,000 went up more than 10%.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I don't know if you've had time to look through the assessments and compare your properties to your neighbors and check out different things. But one thing that was in the newsletter, and it said that the average business and homeowner should experience an increase of 17%. I would like to know what commercial values went up by as an average percentage, and then what homes went up by as an average percentage?
So, single-family homes went up 22%. 2 to 5 family went up 26%. And you wanted commercial?
Yeah.
Commercial's up 7%.
Yeah. So, see, that, I think what was in that newsletter was a little misleading, and I think people are thinking that the average increase for commercial was 17% as well. And you just heard what it is. It's actually like 7, because I looked at the commercial properties and I couldn't find any close to 17%. The residentials, I think, you know, we cut it off at, went up by more than 10%, but I think some of them went up by far more than 10%. And in the past year, I don't know if it was given to us, I think it was actually, I requested some information with Mike Davis. Mike Davis is very good at graphics, so he took the data from the state banks and then came up with a chart breaking it down by increments of, I think, $5,000 of property values, what each category went up by. In other words, homes in the value of $250,000 to $255,000 went up by this percentage was the average. Because you're gonna see that when I looked at a lot of properties just to kind of get a general feeling of what was going on here, a lot of it didn't make any sense to me, and I saw, you know, for some reason, homes that are deemed to be historic, when the style of the home is described as, you know, Cape or Garrison, when it's classified as historic on that thing, those values went down. I mean, I tried to find one that went up. There were a handful, but they all went down. And I think, well, what Mr. Bassett was talking about was Father's house, because I went up and down School Street, and any house that was built in the 1800s up and down Green and School Street, most of them all went down in value. And one of those homes on the Common just sold for $525,000. And, you know, I don't understand, and I guess I wanted someone to explain that to me. First of all, how in this market that we've had for real estate over the last couple of years could any house's value go down? And secondly, why did the historic homes, or, you know, I have a property in Great Road, so I looked at the properties on Great Road in Union Village, and the historic black houses all went down. One of them went directly across the street from me. So why did those homes not appreciate in this market? Because they're selling at appreciated values. And my concern is, for those who are listening who might not be able to figure this out, is if those properties are all going down, then the bigger piece of the pie, the people who are getting the increases are going to get up paying for. The loss of revenue from that end, we're going to make up for. We're going to pay for our own percentage increase, plus to come out to where we need to be to generate all the total revenue. So I think, too, that
Let's let her answer that question. Did you want to?
historic homes.
Okay, so Alan Booth is here. He's a consult. He consults me with real estate problems and questions. But basically, usually homes are going up because they might have been undervalued prior, or they're like ranches right now. Everyone wants a ranch, or single-family homes are really high because they're more marketable right now. But Alan can explain it better.
My name's Alan Booth. I am a real estate consultant.
By the way, thank you for, I know this was short notice.
But, and
I
again,
appreciate you coming.
I didn't do your evaluation.
Yeah.
So some of the questions have been brought up. I understand the question, but I have no knowledge. Excuse me. I'm a certified general appraiser. I'm a certified assessor. I've been the interim assessor in 14 Rhode Island communities.
Including this one.
I was the assessor in...
Including this one.
I was twice here. Warwick, Providence, Newport for 30 years, 4 years in Narragansett. My company is registered, certified to do revaluations in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. I'm 73 years old. I'm not doing revaluations anymore. First of all, in Rhode Island, your assessment is market value. Your assessment isn't a percentage increase overall. And when you analyze the market, different aspects of your property could be more valuable or less valuable over a 3-year period of time. So, just to go crazy, you've got 2 bathrooms, your neighbor's got 4 bathrooms, bathrooms are now worth $5,000 more apiece. His assessment is gonna go up greater percentage than yours because the square footage is identical, but the bathrooms are worth more. So when you say, well, you know, everybody should go up 15%, I've told a lot of people, go to the General Assembly, change the law. Every assessor in the state would love to have it say, just change everybody by 20%, we're done. One of the things that frustrates me in this business is that to do a revaluation, I would get paid $14 a parcel. To appraise your house, I get $400. I'm gonna spend a lot more time thinking about what your house is worth for $400 than I am for $14. But that's just a general complaint about the system. So, like Jennifer said, you take the sales, you try to analyze the value of the components based on construction cost and the market, extract, you know, the data from the market, and then reapply it to the data you have available. If your field cards are 100% correct, if the inspection was done correct, if your multipliers are correct, your assessment should be within 10% plus or minus of market value in a revaluation. You get your notice, you ask a real estate professional, you know, oh, do you think my house is worth this? It's, yeah, it might be, you know, give or take. Then it's a good revaluation. We don't get into every house. Sometimes we get into a house and find that, you know, nobody's gotten into it for 10 years, the house is a wreck inside, they're overassessed, suddenly their assessment goes down. Other times, there's a new owner, they let you in, you go, wow, we didn't know this house was rebuilt, we said everything here is in poor condition. So you have these fluctuations, so when you get down the street and say, well, geez, he went up 20%, he went up, you know, there are so many moving parts. You really have to look at your own assessment compared to market value. Not that you shouldn't see that, you know, you're the only $500,000 house and everybody else is 100, that's a good question. I did a little math, just when people complain, your current residential tax rate is $16,346. If your budget went up, because the budget drives this whole thing. If everybody's, you know, if everybody's assessment went up 50%, your tax rate would go in half, you'd pay exactly the same money the next year. Revaluation does not raise money. It's easier for a council to raise money in the budget and ignore your changing your assessment than put up with this to get that same amount of money. You know, this is not a way for politicians to raise money. This is just a way to them to get more gray hair. But if you had a $250,000 house, at the current tax rate, you're paying $4,086.50. If without a revaluation, they raise the budget by 4%, you would pay $4,250. If your assessment went from $250 to $300 in revaluation, your taxes would go to $4,343. It'd go up $93.15. So even though the assessment went from $250 to $350, your taxes went up $93. If you had a $370,000 assessment and it went to $500, your taxes would actually go down $85.50. So the idea, oh, my assessment went from this to this. No, it's when the tax rate is applied is when the numbers come in. So if you have any questions about revaluation, the steps we take, the process we go through, any of those kind of things, I'll be glad to answer them. If you want to know why your house went up 43, I didn't do it. I would think, based on what I've heard, is that it probably is attractive from the street.
Not very.
I'm just, well, let's just run with that. Let's just run with that. So, somebody rides by 3 years ago and says, wow, this is an A house. They don't go through it, they make that assumption. It's wrong, they shouldn't do that, but they do that. Boom, you suddenly go to an A. You're going to get it corrected to the C it should be. 3 years later, someone goes down and says, wow, here's an A house. It goes up again. It happens. I've reprimanded people for making stupid decisions. But it happens. When you do, we got 5,000, 6,000 properties here, you're gonna have stupid mistakes. And that's why you go through the process of going to the company. It's a pain for you, I understand, you know. Why should I do this every 3 years? But you go to the company, hopefully they understand. If the company doesn't, you go to the assessor, she understands. And in theory, when all the dust settles and Christmas comes around, all the appeals are over except for those that just, for whatever reason, are not easily identifiable. Questions about a revaluation?
I just have a quick question. So, to his point, if commercial property went up 5% and the
Yep.
average house was up, what, 20-something? It just means that commercial, you're saying commercial property just didn't increase at the rate that residential property?
Again, like I said, and I've spent more hours than I can count in Rhode Island Superior Court with tax appeals. And the judges, to a person, all want to hear about market value. They really don't want to hear about this machination we do with the inventory and the values and things like that. They want to know what the house is worth. They have an independent appraiser, certified appraiser. We have an independent certified appraiser. They go with market value. Then you can't shake a stick at. I talk to the little guy, I talk to the big guy. I say, what are you getting for rent for that storefront? They say, make me an offer. Restaurants are going out of business, they can't get help. And if you can't get the rent on a commercial property, you buy a commercial property for the return on your investment. Nobody buys a strip mall because they like the color of the building. They buy it based on that income. When you've got, instead of 90% occupancy, you've got 75, the value goes down. I mean, it's simple, fair market value math.
So while that all makes sense, based upon your explanation, they should not have approved my reduction last time, because I made the same argument and they accepted it.
Well, if,
they adjusted me to the average. Any reval adjusted me to the average. They dropped my assessment $48,300.
to the average, without going to look at it.
Correct.
I'm glad I didn't do this and I had to fire somebody when I went home. Any complaint that requires, analysis, my house is not A grade on the inside, I don't have marble, I don't have the 5 bathrooms, there are no fireplaces, I wanna see that myself. What's it, trust but verify, right?
That's fair.
So if you were looking for a 30% reduction in your improvement value, I would wanna see it physically to see why I changed it. But again, I can't speak for Northeast.
No, and honestly, all I'm asking for is transparency, so their values should have a legend on the site, so I can, as a consumer, say what's average, what's above grade, what's below grade. And frankly, if there's an increase, a significant increase, I think it should, have an explanation.
You should understand. You don't have to like what I have to say, but you need to understand why I did what I did. And then, I'm just, I've had a lot of disappointed people.
Yeah.
But they understood, and here again, I've been walking around this state for a long time, and people who have sued me and have been very dissatisfied would still sit down and have a cup of coffee with me. Because I'm honest, open, transparent. If I think your house is worth that much more, I'm gonna explain it to you to a point where you understand. You don't have to agree, but you understand where I'm coming from. Because that's what it's all about.
Just one question. So if somebody appeals, is the way, what would they need for a successful appeal? They would have to actually allow the company to go into their home?
Depends on the circumstances. It could be, you know, very basic. Or, I mean, a huge error, but very basic. You go in and you say, look, I don't have a two-story house, I've got a one-story ranch. You know, you go on Google Earth, you look, there it is, a one-story ranch. You don't have, I don't have to go to your house. But if you say that I don't think my house is in great condition, I think it's in poor condition, I want to see poor condition. You know, I'm not gonna make those kind of ultimately value judgments clearly, solely on what somebody's saying. And sometimes it's, you know, my house is not in great condition, it needs a lot of work, and I can ride down the street, and if I look at the roof and the roof needs a replacement, I don't have to go in and see the inside. But if you tell me I don't have a pool in the basement, I might go see it if you got a pool in the basement, you know. So it's not mandatory that the house is, that an interior inspection is, you know, but some sort of review or verification. If you come in and say, you know, yeah, I got a 15-acre lot, but 10 acres is wet, and you've got a map from DEM, I don't have to go even look at the property. There's your proof. Okay. So depending on the degree of the complaint or concern, you go through whatever steps are necessary for me to be comfortable that the changes I make and give to Jennifer are legitimate.
Mr. Clifford, do you have something? Do you have a question?
Yeah, well, first of all, do we know how many houses, let me get this clear though. Was this a 9-year full reeval?
Yes.
Okay, so they didn't even ask to come in my house. I'm not complaining about my assessments, I think I got a good deal. But they didn't even ask to come in my house, and I'd like to know how many houses they actually went into. Because some of the houses that I've looked at that are pristine from the outside, and I've been a guest inside of them, are pristine inside too, went down in value. So I really they never even asked, did the appraiser go in any of your homes?
So,
Went to my home.
He went into your
Well,
house?
I have the sign,
Yeah.
but I didn't call.
But did they
They
come
left
in?
the sign, they wanted to come in, yes, they said,
Yeah.
for me to call.
I actually invited them in my home because they said I had 5 full bathrooms and 6 half baths.
So did they go in?
I wanted them to come in, yes.
They did go
And
in?
yeah, and clearly I did not have 6 half bathrooms or even 5 bathrooms.
But I mean, in the
Yes.
previous years, in the reeval, they called and scheduled the time, and I thought they came in all the time. Huh?
COVID is definitely a factor.
Well, maybe we shouldn't have done it this year if they weren't able to go in, because I think you're
it's
gonna
state
find.
law.
State
They
mandated.
should have amended the state law, they amended everything else under the executive
Well,
order.
they didn't change that one.
But that, okay.
And
so
again,
I'll move
you
on.
know, like I said,
You know-
the good news for me is, I didn't do your reval.
No,
So
I know,
not my
I
people.
know. But
Not my people that didn't go in your house.
Can we get an explanation from the reeval company that did it as to why the majority of the homes that are classified as historic for home style went down in value? And can you run a report showing those homes that are classified as historic, how many of them went up or went down? I'm telling you, if you go up down Green Street and School Street, you're gonna see it jumps right out at you.
You know, the big issue, if you step back from the balcony and look down on this whole thing, everyone is conflicting and complaining because of the increases, or not everyone, but you got people complaining because of the increase. Number one, you gotta ask yourself, would I sell the house for that much money? Right? That's the first question you gotta. But this is not something that Ms. St. George did, or the administrator, or this council. It's any reval that's doing this, a company that we hired.
Right.
Now, personally, I think they don't do a good job.
I don't either.
I don't need your commentary right now, Mr. Clifford. I don't think that we're getting what we should be getting from them. And that's the issue, the performance from New England Reval, or whoever it is that we do it from. It goes out to bid. There's only a handful of companies that do it. So we're really, really tied. There's only so many that do it. It's not a big state. But that's the issue. The issue is we're not getting performance from the company that we hired. You know, they sent everybody a letter, this is the value of your house. You probably got it 2 weeks ago. And you have till Friday to call and complain, or to file it, you wanna justify it or challenge it. And so it's like, number one, you need a bigger window of time frame. And I understand the time constraints you're under because they've got to lock in those assessments before they can set the tax rate when we do the budget at the end of June. I understand the whole process. But my issue is whoever we're hiring to do this isn't performing what we need to get done. They're not doing their job. That's what I see out of this thing, looking at it. I'm not complaining about the value they put on my house. If someone would give me that money for my house, I'll gladly take it. You know, that's the question you got to ask yourself. Would I sell my house for that much? You know what I mean? If they put some price on it that you're saying, there's no way we get that. But 99% of the houses, they put a value on them, that's what it would sell for. That's what it would sell for. But when people have issues and concerns and they want questions and stuff, and they're not getting that, that's a problem. And that's the problem that we're having. The assessments aren't out of whack, I don't think. We're just not getting answers in performance that we need to get to show that they did their job. That's the issue I see with this. You know, Mr. Corvo called them, they went and,
Well,
they went and.
I told them I wanted it.
Right,
Yeah.
but it wasn't an easy process either, was it?
Well, I don't think they would have willingly come had I not said, you know, come on site.
But so it's, to me, it's a performance issue that we're having with the reval company, getting answers. I'm not saying, I agree with Mr. Booth that ask them the questions, they can justify their answers, and you can say, oh, I don't like that. That doesn't mean they're wrong either, but we're not even getting those answers, and that's the issue. That's what I see out of this, is it's a performance thing. And 90% of the people in town aren't even gonna contest their assessments, because they do look at it and say, I wouldn't sell my house for that much. I would want more than that. That's the bottom line to it.
And a lot of the older homes, you'd be amazed, we don't have an attic. You need a way to get up. A hole that you climb up into, that's the space, is not considered an attic. They had me down as 2 bathrooms. I showed them one, they asked me where the other one was, and I told them it was in back of my garage. That finished that. And then the other thing that, they said I had a 3rd bedroom. I didn't, I had a born room. There's no closets. Therefore, it's not a bedroom. It's a door that opens, and it'd be a way so you don't have to go around the house to check on a child.
Right, and not that this has anything to do with that, but bedrooms don't affect the math of your value. And I tell people this all the time. Years ago, when I got married, I had a 3-bedroom house, 3 bedrooms upstairs and a bathroom. I moved up to a bigger house. My parents moved into that house. My mother passed on. My father took one of the bedrooms. When we moved in, he took one of the bedrooms. The smaller bedroom was the baby's room. He made it into an office. When my mother died, he made one of the other bedrooms into a living room on the 2nd floor. And when he came home at night and went upstairs, he had his living room, he had the bathroom, he had his bedroom, his office. He didn't have to go downstairs again. When they did the 71 revaluation when I was in there, it was a 3-bedroom house. When I did the 92 revaluation when he was there, it was a 1-bedroom house. But since the math is based on square footage, it doesn't matter. So, whether they call a room with a closet or not a bedroom, doesn't matter with your assessment.
Bathrooms do, though. Bathrooms do.
Did you,
Bathrooms do.
anybody else?
Especially if we got 11.
With 1 septic.
Mr. Clifford?
Does it make sense that in a, and I understand that these people aren't responsible for these numbers. I was getting at the same point that Paul jumped to at the end. I don't think we got a good evaluation, and I don't think we should be paying for it until we know we got, if we know we got a bad one, then let's go after them and make some corrections. I think it's gonna be unfair to the residents in the town who end up getting hit for more than they should in this thing. First of all, I think it was deceiving because tended not to be alarmed because I felt that a lot of the assessments came in below market value. I wouldn't sell my house for what it came in at. It went up, but I wouldn't sell it for that. And I looked at a lot of properties of all different ranges, and the houses at the higher end seemed to go up by a good percentage, and those were closer to market value than the houses at the lower end. The ones that were in the 2s and 3s all seemed to be, you know, you can't buy a house for $300,000 in this town anymore. I mean, nothing is worth less than $300,000 in this town. So I thought those people are gonna, you know, get kind of not a break, but they're not gonna get hit as hard. But there's only a good percentage of people that are gonna get hit hard. And I think people weren't alarmed when they saw the assessed value because it seemed reasonable to them. I thought I was getting a great deal because I wouldn't sell mine. Unlike Paul, who said he wouldn't sell his house in a heartbeat for that, I wouldn't sell mine for what they assessed it at, either property. So I think that's, you know, that's something to give consideration to. But I would really like them, the company, to justify things like how come, what percentage of homes that were classified as historic went down. And when you pointed out about the attic and everything, they knew that 3 years ago. I mean, they've been in the house 3-4 years ago, or whatever the last time they went in the house. That information hasn't changed, and none of the houses that I looked at have changed in a derogatory way, but yet the prices, the assessed values went down. Something's wrong with that picture. And as far as, I have a question for you, because you said shopping plazas, and I'm not talking about a shopping plaza, I'm talking about Darling Village. I don't know if you're familiar with that complex or not.
No.
It's you know, each store was constructed on its own piece of land,
Yeah,
and
okay,
the land
yeah.
was all assessed separately. If you look at the buildings in Darling Village, some of them, the land values went up, and others, the land values went down. It's in the same, what do you call Darling Village? I don't know, it's not a plaza, but it's in the same.
Shopping center.
Shopping center. How can one parcel of, how can these parcels of land go down significantly in value and those go up significantly in value, like shifts of $1 million or more?
I'd like to have a good answer for you.
But that doesn't sound right, does it?
Well, it doesn't, no, it doesn't sound right. But I will throw this out at you. If, now they have separate lots?
Oh, they're assessed on the land.
Land
Each-
and
yes,
improvements,
land and
okay.
buildings, yep. And most of them, they went up a little, like 7 or 8%, but for some of them, the land went down, and then the building went up a little, and that's how they ended up at 7%. But in others, the land, it was the vice versa, it was
Right.
the total
So,
opposite.
in a commercial situation, in the absence of sales, we use what's called the income approach.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay. So if I have a kiosk on a lot, and I'm renting it for $12 a foot to a t-shirt salesman, and you own a kiosk that you're renting to Dunkin' Donuts, and you're getting $45 a foot, your Dunkin' Donuts is worth more than my t-shirt shop, from an income. You with me so far? But the buildings have the same value. So if we say they each have a $100,000 building, your land must be worth more. Now, I'm not saying that's the right way to do it. I'm just saying that that's how it could happen.
And then, I'll give you another example. If you go down the industrial parkway, the industrial highway, all of the land values for every building in that area, I think, well, all the ones that I checked, which was a significant number, went nowhere. They didn't change at all. They didn't go up and they didn't go down. How come the residential properties you look at, the land values all went up, the land values all went up? And we're not
But are
building.
the commercial properties worth more? Did their total assessment change?
Yeah, by 7%, but the land value.
No, that's just a number.
Yeah, it went up by 7%. The land, the assessment numbers for the industrials went up by, you know, whatever percentage. It's much smaller than 17%. That's why I knew that had to be a typo or something in that newsletter. They went up an insignificant amount. But what I'm saying is their land assessments all stayed the same. How do your land assessments all stay the same?
And again, you have to analyze the data.
Well, how would that? I mean,
You know, one of the requirements of my license says, if you can't prove it, you can't use it. So if I can't prove that something has gone up in value, I can think anything I want. But if I can't prove it, I can't put that on a report and give it to a bank. Because if they turn it into the board, I lose my license. So if there's no data to indicate that that land is worth any more today, if I'm looking at
So
industrial,
there's been no sale in that area of industrial land?
anywhere in Rhode Island, maybe nearby Massachusetts for industrial land. If I can't find any industrial land that influences my opinion, what do? I go with the known, right? Revaluations, like I said, everything's based on market value. You have to base your changes on the data you extract from the market. If there's nothing happening in the market, and you just can't glean anything from the market, every industrial place you go and visit, they say, you wanna buy the place, I can't make any money sitting making widgets. How can you raise their assessment? Because they're gonna hire some appraiser that comes in and says, prove it, show me your sales, show me your data. What am I gonna say? Well, I don't have any data, we decided to raise everybody 7%. Boom, then you're in here throwing out the company for not doing it right, and I'm out of license.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? So just to clarify, okay, so they have, if somebody wants to appeal, they have until March 25th to do so.
To set up a hearing with the reval company, yes.
I'm sorry?
To set up a reval with the
Correct.
reval company, yes.
You're right. Okay, and then after that, if they,
then-
now is that if they can have a, they can go to you, but is that after they fail with the reval company, or if they just miss that deadline? Either way?
Either or.
Okay.
But usually what happens, because we have to get those numbers into our system to generate the tax rate and everything else.
Okay.
And get our bills out. So once you receive that tax bill, you have 90 days to appeal it to myself.
Okay.
And I would go out, reassess it, or if you had a recent appraisal, I would review that. Anything that would help your case, present it with your appeal, and I'll look at them individually.
All right. Thank you. Everybody good?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Ms. Booth, thank you for coming out.
Happy to do it. And Jennifer's still young, and she's still new at this. And she's still young, too. but she's still- After she's been doing it 40 years, she'll be over this.
That's right. Okay, we're gonna get back to the top of the agenda here, and we're gonna do discussion by council vote or other action on payment of bills.
Yes.
Does anybody have anything in the payment of the bills that they would like to discuss or brought to Cynthia's attention? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the bills at this time.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the payment of bills in the total amount of $4,942,179.58.
That's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on consent agenda. All items in this section are considered in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda. Would anybody like anything removed from the consent agenda for the further discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda of Town Council minutes of March 15th, 2022, Animal Control Monthly Report for February 2022, North Smithfield Police Department Monthly Report for February 2022, North Smithfield Municipal Court Monthly Report for February 2022, and North Smithfield Fire and Rescue Monthly Report for February 2022.
That's a motion. We have a second?
second,
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Yes. North Smithfield Town Council, sitting as the Board of Licensed Commissioners. Discussion by council vote of action on solicitation license, Verizon Fios TV and Internet Services, DBA Valier Management Group. Adam Dufresne? Sorry to keep you waiting, sir.
Hello, Council. How is everybody today?
Hi.
Dufresne, president of Wastewater Management Group, based out of Providence, Rhode Island. We've been in business a little over 4 years now. We specialize in marketing events and community outreach events. What we're working on at the current moment, we do a lot of business with the ACP program. If you guys aren't familiar with that, that's the Affordable Connectivity Program. It's a federal program that helps, exactly what the name states, helps families get affordable internet and phone services. So we actually do business with 2 clients at the moment. Number one, we work with Verizon Fios TV and internet services. And with the ACP benefits applied to Verizon Fios, we can get customers internet as low as $10 a month. We also do business, our other client is Assurance Wireless. They're actually a subdivision of T-Mobile. And they do the same thing. They apply the ACP benefits to their program, and we can actually get customers up to 1 line of free unlimited cell phone service. So we do that, like I said, through different marketing events, community outreach programs, those type of things. And the issue is a lot of people don't know about the program. They don't know that they can apply these benefits to their cell phone and internet bills. So that's really our mission, is to inform the public and enroll them if they're interested, of course.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Dufresne? As you can see on the the application that he's met all the requirements, town clerk, BCI check, town council approval, not yet. So I will entertain a motion to approve if any.
Mr.
Oh.
President, if I may. Mr. Dufresne, how many agents are you going to have out there soliciting?
Yeah, great question. Starting with myself, I mean, I like to obviously work a community myself, kind of get the ins and outs of it myself personally. Then after that, we might add 1 or 2 more agents, because we do have most of the state of Rhode Island, so we're spread kind of fit into that.
Okay, the reason I bring this up, we have a history that there was another door-to-door solicitation going on. Both the gentlemen had extensive criminal records, which of course we did not grant them a license. So all of your agents will have to undergo a BCI check.
Absolutely. In order to get coded with Verizon Fios and Assurance Wireless, they have to do a federal BCI as well as state and local.
Are your representatives, are they going to be wearing a certain attire, a uniform, identification?
Yes, absolutely. They all are required to have a name badge, which is reflective. Obviously, if they're out in the community, they'll have full badge, always facing forward. Especially on Verizon, they give us a lot of polos, jackets, those type of things. And Insurance Wireless, we have pretty much glow-in-the-dark blue, neon blue T-shirts that we wear. So yes.
The only other thing I would suggest, if you know the area in which your agents are making house calls, please have them check in with police dispatch, so the police dispatch can say, yes, it'll alleviate concern of residents.
Yeah, not a problem at all. I'm actually good friends with Cabs in West Ridge, so yeah, I don't mind calling over there.
Well, we're not gonna hold that against you.
So you know them too then?
It's a standard reply, that's all.
Does anyone else have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. President, based on all approvals being completed, I make a motion that we approve the solicitation license for Adam Dufresne as Volare Management Group.
It's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, all set, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, Council. Have a great night.
Thank you. Discussion by council vote of the, we're gonna move down to old business. Discussion by council vote of the action and update of municipal building review task force. Ms. Vadney, did you want to take this?
Yeah, Mr. Nordstrom had a family issue he had to go to
Okay.
Worcester for. We have met with Tecton after your approval of their amended contract. We are meeting with them tomorrow to start looking at revised floor plans and refined site plans based on all that input that we took about smaller municipal court, smaller training room, cell elimination. They're looking to bifurcate the Sally Port to accommodate vehicle processing if they need it to be. A number of issues that they've looked at and listened to value engineer this down and still meet the needs of the police department. So we're working on that, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have something concrete to show you guys. And I did talk to the solicitor about the amended contract to get it approved, so the administrator, we already approved the administrator to sign it, but we're waiting for the solicitor to approve it, and told me we'd get that done tomorrow.
Great.
So
Thank you.
things are moving
Excellent.
forward still.
Anyone have any questions, Mr. Badger? Okay, thank you, sir. Discussion by council vote of the action and update of Hallowell Review Committee. Mr. Corvo.
Thank you. So I was stuck at work last week. Unfortunately, missed the meeting, but I had already asked Mr. Porter if he would come up and just give an overview of this past meeting.
Missed the meeting.
With no cell phone.
And while I'm up here, you can kill two birds with one stone, and we can talk about the next item under new business, too. I think I signed item number B with the abatement. But anyways, I'll start with a quick recap for the Hallowell Review Committee. As Steve said, we met last Thursday. Sorry. We did meet with Cheryl Marandella and Ann Lilly of the Parks and Rec Commission. We discussed the community gardening. We did make a positive recommendation, which you'll be getting a memo from us, recommending that they continue to move forward with the community garden, but just in an alternate location, hoping that demolition and abatement will move quickly. They can be located down where the swings were. They're working with Mr. Pendergast to figure out water to get down to the site, but overall, we were very pleased to hear their report from 2021 based on all the bounty that they produced. So that was good. And then the committee also reviewed and identified goals and procedures that are laid out in the comprehensive plan as part of some further investigations that have been asked of us, just to ensure that what we are looking at as far as a community center is still in line with the town's plan. Let's see, we also talked about potential questions for community-based organizations. We're basically compiling a list of questions to distribute to folks like the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, so then that way we are comparing apples to apples situations when it comes to potential partnerships. And then lastly, we reviewed grants and funding opportunities. We had discussed looking at the Rhode Island Outdoor Recreation Grant through DEM. There's also a couple other healthcare grants that one of our members was looking at. And we're also looking at USDA grants. The problem with a lot of these grants that we are finding is that you need to have a plan put in place. So we can't really go after any funding without our master plan. So while we can identify potential grants, we can't pursue them until we actually have something substantial. And that's the highlights of our last meeting.
Jeff, I don't want anybody on that committee to get discouraged. As you can see, we are moving, you know, we got the abatement going here, and I would like to see those buildings come down relatively soon. So just relay to the members that, you know, they're not doing, I mean, still have our support, but just the system does grind a little slower than we would all like.
Yep, and Mrs. O'Hara was kind enough to share some very kind words for our committee, so thank you for, we certainly felt rejuvenated after hearing some of those words, so thank you.
Well, we appreciate what the committees are really doing this year. You've put in a lot of time, and the expertise and knowledge in those groups we couldn't afford if it wasn't donated.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? Thanks, Jeff. Oh, yeah, actually, hold on. I will move that agenda item up. Which one is it? B, right? Discussion by council vote of action on Hallowell Memorial School, consideration of asbestos abatement cost estimate, environmental consulting and management proposal. Mr. Porter.
So, I think you have a couple documents and a few emails from Joel Lepore of ECM. You should have received a 111-page document dated February 28th, 2022, that has basically their report of their findings. Really, it's the first 8 pages that are the important parts, that just basically go through and identify what materials have asbestos within the buildings. The second piece of attachment that you have was also from February 28th, 2022, a letter of asbestos abatement cost estimate, where Mr. Lepore goes and lists off the total estimated cost for abatement of asbestos-containing materials for $271,710. So, quite a bit for just abatement. That does not include demolition costs. So ultimately tonight, in discussions with Mr. Pendergast and with the administration, we are looking for 2 action items tonight. The first one is to authorize ECM to proceed with the abatement plan and to submit to Department of Health. That process, Mr. Lepore outlines that the abatement plan, once submitted, has a 6-month window when work needs to be started or it will become inactive. Once started inside that 6 months, the plan is good for 1 year from the date of Rhode Island Department of Health approval. So that is kind of action item number 1. And then the other action item would be to authorize in some way someone on the town, I'm more than happy to assist as needed, to author an RFP for abatement and demolition of the buildings. I would recommend that part of that RFP, those prices be held for 90 days. And you could basically break this down so that the original contract, the first portion of the contract could be dealing with strictly abatement, and then have an ad alternate for demolition. This will accomplish 2 things. You'll get an accurate estimate for what the abatement cost would be and what the demolition cost would be. You are not obligated to accept all the bids. You can use these as numbers to understand budgeting. You can reject all the bids once you get them all in. Or if you find that there's money within the budget as it stands, you could proceed with the lowest bidder and proceed in that fashion. So I want to make clear that when you put this RFP out, you're not making any commitments to any contractors to move forward and do any work. I'm suggesting this as a way to proceed so you get an understanding of how much this is actually going to cost.
Could you give us the Cliff Notes version, the book Cliff Notes, not the website, not the Facebook page website? Could you give us the Cliff Notes version of the findings of the? Sorry. I actually have you blocked.
All right. Well, the short version of this is that all the buildings have some form of asbestos. It's found in the floor tile with mastic, linoleum on the cabinetry, window glazing, roof overhangs, exterior panels, vent stacks, roof flashing around the chimneys, and that's, let me just read that, make sure I'm not leaving anything off. But that's basically the items that do contain asbestos.
So it's unhealthy to just be in that building?
With the asbestos, because it's not friable, it's okay to be in the building, but it's not okay because of the mold.
Wow.
So you have other issues that's not just ACMs right now. And some of the structures probably failing, more than likely. So as we reported from Weston Sampson.
Mrs. Zelinski, the,
Mr. President, yes.
when you went out, went out to, and you got the $271,710. Are we looking to approve that?
Well, I think Mr. Porter brings up a good point here. We
Yeah.
can just go out for the abatement, which is an estimate. I'm going to use the words exactly, potential costs associated.
Okay.
And it's coming back from environmental consultant management of $271,710. Now, I want to remind, just to refresh the memories, that I asked Cynthia, the finance director, to give us truly right up to date. We had $400,000 in the bond for Hallowell. We put reserve of $66,300. Then we had to pay Weston Sampson $75,000, EMC for this report, $6,600. So the balance right now is $384,681. Abatement alone would bring us down to a balance of $112,971. If we take out the $271,710, we'd have a balance after the abatement of $112,900. So let's just round that to $113,000. I think Mr. Porter brought up a good point. It was to see if we could combine abatement and demo. We don't have money for demo. That's the problem. So if we combine the abatement with demo, we've got 90 days. We have to start acting on this. Help me if I'm going astray here, Mr. Porter. So the abatement issue, if we can do one thing, we should try, in my opinion, I think we should do the abatement. If we had the funds, the ways and means, I'd level the place. Take it all down after the abatement was done. But if it's done in conjunction, if we would go out and bid and have the abatement and the demo done, we don't know what that's going to cost.
Paul, I got a question for you. This is your area of expertise.
Let me give you my take on
Go
this, okay? First off, we hired ECM to do this report. We asked two things of them for $6,600, do an asbestos abatement spec and to do an asbestos plan. We still don't have the asbestos plan. There's the problem. We need the asbestos plan to go out to bid. That's the problem. We should already have this plan. We shouldn't be waiting for them to produce it. I understand it's only good for 6 months. We're not waiting to sit on this plan. We want the plan to move forward. We need the plan to move forward. We should have this plan and we don't. That's the first thing. My suggestion would have been is get the plan, meet with the director of I don't want to call you director of facilities, but that's what you're doing in this case. The director of public works and the administration, and get a bid out there and put it out there for abatement and demolition combined, abatement on its own and demolition on its own, as ad alternates or whatever. Put it out there in different ways, because one guy coming in and doing all this work might be cheaper than doing it two separate times because of mobilizing their force. And if you look at this, some of this stuff, the floor tiles, $123,000. It's almost half of the number is just floor tiles and mastic. All the rest of that, those transite panels that are on the walls and on the overhang, those are gonna come down, yeah, you gotta dispose of them, and that's where the cost is. It's not like rocket science on this stuff, but it's all been identified, but we don't have a plan, and without the plan, we can't go out to bid. So,
Is it easier to abate the building if you're gonna knock it down? Because you don't have to really, it's like, remember, when they did the abatement at the police station, right? But they had the.
well, they didn't do abatement at the police
But they
station.
had to, when they go in and get a price.
They did abatement in this building.
All right, but they had to get, they got the numbers. Is it easier?
They got a number based on the plan. That's why I'm saying you need that plan.
But my question is, if you're gonna knock the building down, you're probably gonna have to be less careful when you're ripping things apart. Is it cheaper, you think, to do the abatement if they're gonna tear the building down than if we say, well, do the abatement, we're gonna move into that building?
Depends how it's done. My experience, it depends how it's done. In this building here, when they did asbestos abatement, it was closed. Negative draft. They came in, did their abatement. Same guys that did the demo did the abatement, but it was done separately because they gotta follow the plan. Once you get the plan and you submit it to Department of Health and we go out and get a bid on it, and then we want to award that bid. The guy that wins the bid has to wait 10 days for the Department of Ed to make sure that they weigh in on this thing. So automatic 10-day delay from the day that you award it, and they want to get started, and they file their paperwork. So there's a process that they have to go through, and some of this stuff, you have to remove it before you can demo the building. Some of it can be done in conjunction with it. Like taking those transite panels down, they're gonna come, and once they do this, there's nothing left of those buildings. It's, you know, they're wood frame buildings on slab.
Right.
And so you know, once you remove your floor tiles and some of this other stuff, a demolition guy is gonna have a better idea of doing that, and there's only so many guys that do that too. And so they're gonna come in, and that's why I say, put it out there in different ways, that we want you to do A and B, we want you to do A, or we want you to do B. Bid it 3 different ways. And then you're gonna have an idea of what your abatement costs are, and you're gonna see whether it's cheaper to have one guy do it or to have 2 different guys do it, based on their level of expertise. But we need that plan. That's the key to this.
So,
That's pretty much
Miss-
in line what you were discussing.
Well, in his email that's dated March 3rd, I don't know if that was provided to you folks, but he says that we can utilize the report that he's provided to start to solicit bids for this project. He says we still need to create an asbestos abatement plan for the project prior to the removal of asbestos. So I don't see why we couldn't tell ECM to start, us to start, and then in 2 or 3 weeks at your next meeting, you have the full package ready to go. So that's your call, but it would make sense to have both of them going at the same time, as opposed to waiting for the abatement plan, then waiting to do the RFP, if we're truly trying to expedite this along.
So what you're looking for, what we're looking for, there's an, authorize, where is it?
ECM.
ECM to come up with an abatement plan. Okay.
I don't really think we have to authorize them. We already hired them to do that. That's my point.
Yeah, all right.
We hired them to do that.
Okay.
Exactly what we spoke about this afternoon is what we're recommending, and I think that was put out there and then said again. We're looking to put this all packaged together. I do this all the time for street improvements and this and that. We can bid it any way we want to. They've been held off since March 3rd for this plan. It's all documented in emails, that they were ready to go move forward, but because we can't have meetings all the time, everything gets pushed off 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So, in fairness to this company, they were ready to go March 3rd. So, a phone call tomorrow morning, they'll have their plan in act. They're gonna help us put this RFP together. They're the professionals. So, they don't have a problem with this, but we just needed to get this out there tonight, to move forward, get the plan, and then we can go out with an RFP, put it all together. We can do it add alternate, any way we can do it. We can pull one number. I think at the end of the day, we all know there's not enough money to do both
That's right.
at the end of the day. So,
I think it's close, though.
it may not be off by much, and I think that's why we have to put it together. And you may get that one contractor who puts it together, and the price is, that 271 may not really be 271. So, let's put it all together. Let's see what happens. We've got nothing to lose by bidding it both ways.
But that's what ECM is gonna do. The asbestos abatement spec is what you're gonna use to put in your bid thing, and the plan is what they're gonna follow.
So you're not looking for any action then?
I don't think we need to. We already paid them to do it. We just gotta tell them, give it to us.
ECM's just waiting for us to tell them to pull the trigger and go. And we spoke today about it, so they're just waiting for our phone call tomorrow morning. Almost like an update, but I think that with that first bullet, we want to move forward also, putting an RFP together to keep the ball going. Not wait until May to put an RFP.
Mhm.
All right.
So if that meets
Yeah.
approval, I don't see why we can't move forward tomorrow morning.
What I want.
Yeah. Jeff, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
No, dealing with this sort of process is still learning curve. I'm not trying to step on any toes. We're all on the same page. We're
That's
all in
right.
agreement with everything. So I just want to make sure that what comes across my email and Ray's email and I've been fortunate enough to be participating in, that we're just doing everything by the book. That's really what it comes down to. So if it seems like I'm being overly cautious, I'm not trying to come in here guns blazing, you know? So that's really what it comes down to.
I understand that your heart's in the right place and you're motivated to get this, you know, to get this going.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Great, thanks.
David, do we need to take an action, or is it just administratively to take care of that?
I think, Ray, you ready to go? Yes.
Oh, that's what I mean, your team, administratively.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Don't need a vote? Okay.
No, we don't need to
No.
vote.
All right.
We already said, ECM hasn't fulfilled the rest of their contract. So, once that's done, in the next 2 weeks, we'll be all set. Then we move forward with our
Thank you.
Okay.
Is that me? It's not me.
Old business C now.
Yeah, we're gonna move to old business C, discussion by council vote of the action on sewer commission to approve recommendation to submit completed town facilities plan amendment to DEM. Mr. Gasparo?
Evening.
Will Gaspar here, Matthew Rowe, Vice Chair of the Sewer Commission. So there's 2 things essentially for discussion.
Thank you. First is just to give you a brief update on where we stand with the plan, and then second is going to be to flag something for your attention that we've encountered along the way. Not necessarily we have any specific recommendation on exactly what needs to happen, but I think you need to be aware of it. So the first thing is regarding the wastewater facilities plan for the town. This was previously presented to you at September 20th, 2021, where this needed to be updated. The exact cause for the update was part of the Slater Village project. Is DEM flagged this has exceeded, I believe it was 30,000 gallons a day of wastewater flow. That triggered an additional review. All history that's been before the council already. In the course of this, we've had Wright Pierce working with our commission to update the plan. This is based on the 2007 plan that was already in existence. A lot of those updates were either technical in nature, so I know Russ Carpenter from the town had a lot of input on this, worked with the engineers to get a lot of the details finalized, did a really good job with that. That took an additional couple months. There was some back and forth in that process there, just on technical things. The other thing that happened was there were a lot of just small updates needed to make it consistent with the new 2019 comprehensive plan for the town. All those things have been done. We reviewed the plan as a commission. We're satisfied that everything has been updated by our engineers accordingly. You know, certain things are just a standard increase, like some of the costs for different things are just, they said, based on a standard 3% per year, I believe, just a flat engineering increase for the running costs since 2007 for these projects. So our commission has voted that this is ready for approval for the town council, in that all the updates based on the 2007 plan have been made and everything in that sense is accurate. However, in the course of doing this, we've discovered that this development plus Silver Pines 2 uses up 95% of the Belcher Pump Station's capacity. The problem with that is future western development in this area, based on the plan going forward, is no longer going to be viable without increasing the size of the Belcher Avenue Pump Station. The price tag on that's somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million. I believe that the interceptor lines need to be upgraded in their size, and some of the pumps need to be upgraded. It just doesn't have the capacity for this kind of project. It was directly intended for something smaller. So where this leaves us currently is that the system does have the capacity right now, with both of those projects and all the existing developments there, that operates the station at 95% capacity, so it can handle that. The concern is if all the development that's in the plan, and part of the comprehensive town plan comes into being, you're going to have to upgrade this station, and that adds about $1 million on top. I believe it was about an $8 million cost to all that work that's in the plan. Now, to be clear, the town's not obligated to do this. This is just a standard core planning document, something that's been on file for many years. This is sort of the guidelines as the town grows and continues to expand. This just gives us a roadmap for how some of this is done. So they've been clear to us that we're not obligated to actually undertake millions of dollars of spending. This is just the roadmap for how that takes place. That being said, Belcher Pump Station will be inadequate for that future development to the tune of $750 to $1 million needed to upgrade, I believe, those lines and those pumps. We had some debate on the committee of how exactly that's approached. Should the developer be kicking in for that? Is that something that'll have to be paid by ratepayers in the future? I don't believe our committee took any specific recommendations on that. Instead, we just presented this as a plan for your approval, consistent, the updates to the 2007 facilities plan. I believe procedurally that this does have to get approved. This has to be sent by the town, approved by you, sent by the town back to DEM for them to be able to continue with that development plan. DEM put a hold, as far as I understood it, on that project until we updated our facilities plan showing that the Slater Village would be consistent with the rest of our developments. If anyone has any questions, I can help with.
So basically, any further development in the Belcher Avenue area and that line is gonna need infrastructure improvement to the tune of $1 million, say. So going forward, if any development in there knows that it's like, there's a headline now coming, anything that we do over there, we know that there's a price tag automatic on that comes into play on that.
And to be clear, I think the total projects they talk about, soup to nuts, would be like $8 million. This just basically adds an additional $1 million that wasn't there before.
And above and beyond what they submitted last meeting? This is different than that?
So two different things. I know we have a lot of things going at once here. One of those was just sort of maintenance repairs, just generally keeping up with repairs. And so there's some things at the Belcher Ave station that they flag need updates and repairs. This is a little bit different. This is, I believe, my understanding from the engineers is saying that they overall need to increase the capacity there to be able to continue expanding. And so they look at a lot of these costs. You'll see the price tag on these things is staggering, but again, the town's not obligated. This is just the plan, is if you want to undertake all these projects, what it's going to cost start to finish on it. Because the capacity that was otherwise there before these projects were approved is now being used up, that's going to mean to go forward, you're going to have to increase the capacity on that pump station. That adds another $1 million to the project. And again, when it comes down to that point, if the town's ready to expand there, the question is going to be is how is that paid for? Is that going to just be part of, you know, the rate increase? Is that going to be part of something that people pay tying in, or for part of the project cost? Or one of the ideas that was floated would, of course, be having the developer pay something for that. It's a little bit of a novel situation we're finding, just because the capacity is currently there. If they put their full project in, the pump is still only operating at 95% capacity is what our engineers are telling us. So it's not that their project maxes out or exceeds the pump, it's just that it reduces the ability for it to handle future development is the question on how we go about handling that.
Any new users would be paying, though, like, they're gonna tie into that system. And so based on the EDUs, they're gonna be paying, are they gonna pay a connection fee and a user fee?
I
An
believe.
assessment, they would have an assessment as well on that?
You know, like, after what happened in Slater Mill, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. I'm still gun-shy from that. As you know, I voted against that whole settlement. So I'm going to reserve judgment now, answering that call.
Okay.
Personally, I think the builder should have a big clump put on his place. If he wants to develop an area, he's gonna have to help pay for what is a necessity, septic and water.
So if I, Mr. President, this morning I spoke with Maura Beck, who's the administrator of the water, both water and sewer. The capacity left, and Mr. Gasparo, correct me if I'm wrong, but the capacity left at Belcher Avenue Station right now, before Slater Village and before Silver Pines, is roughly 90%. With 120 units at Slater Village, it'll be using up 55% of that 90% that's left. And if Silver Pines goes to phase 2 with 66 units, that uses another 30%, roughly about 85% of the 90. That would leave us with 5% left on the Belcher Avenue Station if both of those developments goes in. Leaves us nothing for expanding into residential, into neighborhoods, or doing any infrastructure upgrades. So I think, Mr. Gasparo, we spoke briefly, and I basically said, why not have the developers put in a contribution? Because they're coming in and using up all the capacity. How many connections, how many, that's what it comes down to. Are they gonna pay for that? I don't.
That was my question, though. Are they gonna get an assessment to tie in, like, if you build a house that was on a lot that wasn't there, and you tie in, you pay an assessment to tie into that line, and you pay a user fee.
5,200.
That's for a single-family home, so.
Yes.
So, what is, suppose we're at 95%. How many houses would make up, would it take to,
That was my next question.
how many houses would it take to use up that last 5%?
I think what I've been told from the engineers, the concern is not like that one or two houses that want to connect, because they overall don't contribute a lot. We're talking like, I think, total flows of over 200,000 gallons per day or something. To me, at least, they're large numbers, larger than you're going to get from my house. I think the concern, though, is talking about if you're extending these sewer lines way into there and you're picking up 20, 30, 40, 60 houses, you're doing sort of an expansion project, that's where you're going to need a lot more capacity, rather than the one-off, hey, somebody wants to pay the out-of-district assessment and tie in their one house. I don't think that really skews the numbers large either way. It's really what the engineers are flagging for us is the ability to continue with those future development expansion plans is what they're telling us is the bigger issue.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, we can add 10 houses to that line, and it's not gonna put us over. But if there's a 30-house or 40-house development that goes in there, that's gonna spike it.
Exactly.
I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, actually, If we're at capacity and we can't put up new, 30, 40 house projects in the town, I don't think really that's the worst thing in the world, that if we don't bring sewer to them, if we don't bring sewer and water, that's the problem, right? You bring sewer and water to an area, and all of a sudden houses and everything starts sprouting up. So maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that we're at 95% and we can't.
I see where you're going.
You see?
Yeah, you have marginally lots that maybe shouldn't have been developed. You bring in water or sewer, it's developed.
That's right, right. So maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that we can't go beyond that at this point, or we're at 95%. We gotta try to, I personally think we should try to do what we can to limit large parcels of land being developed, like 20, 30, 40 houses or large housing projects. Maybe this is just what we need to, something like this is perfect. I don't know.
Certainly. Our real point in wanting just to flag this is something we weren't expecting to see, that there's $1 million price increase if we want to continue expanding along that. But the one thing that everyone's reassured us is that these facilities plans, these are just kind of go along with some of our comprehensive plans for the town and whatnot. These are the long view over the next 20, 30 years where the expansion could go to, but we're not obligated to take on any of these things. Because we got a concern saying, do we actually have to spend $1 million next week? And they said, no, that's not how these work.
Yeah.
This is just a long-term planning of that.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
think you guys are really squared away. I mean, you're very impressive, the whole commission.
And I'm hoping that probably after our next meeting next month, when Mr. Dory's here, I believe are in the process of submitting, they have that new Infrastructure Act, where the federal government has the staggering amount of money they're putting nationwide into infrastructure. Maura's been excellent with us. She's been working with our engineers, and I think we're in the process of submitting 3 separate requests to get some infrastructure funding to hopefully either pay some or all of the cost, both the repairs plan you saw at the last meeting, and then 2 development projects that have been on our radar, but the cost from the ledge and everything has just been too high to make it doable for the homeowners. So our engineer flagged that for us. It's been great to have them on call, I gotta say, because they are able to flag things like this for us and help us get the applications in. Fingers are crossed that they're gonna be giving out a lot of grant money, and if that's the case, we can pick up a few $1 million or something like that to go towards these projects. I think would be a really great thing to help put take a swipe at some of these things that otherwise were outside of reach. So I don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, but our engineers are telling us that a lot of towns are doing it. We're really optimistic we might be able to get at least some funding over this multi-year grant program.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thinking of that.
So at this time, what they're looking for is for the North Smithfield Sewer Commission is requesting the town council take their recommendation into consideration and approve the submission of this wastewater facilities plan amendment to DEM to satisfy the concerns regarding the Slatersville project.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mr. Vadney.
I make a motion that we approve and accept the report that was generated by ratepayers on our wastewater facility plan amendment and authorize the administrator to send it to DEM.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. You're on new business C, correct?
I just read this, and I don't know if a family member is here, Catholic family, no?
I want you to just hold that thought. I'm gonna call it out on the agenda, and then you can have the floor.
Okay,
Okay.
because I think it's wonderful, but I think it's,
Discussion by council vote or other action on installation of a bench at Town Hall located at 83 Green Street in recognition of Lynn, is it Kozlak?
yes, Catholic.
Mrs. Zelinski, U.S. This will be on the agenda. Ms. O'Hara, if you want to just continue with your thoughts?
All right, first of all, this was written by her son, I think it's lovely. But a couple of weeks ago, there was a letter written by a gentleman, I believe maybe Vietnam, World War II.
Korea.
Korea?
Yeah.
That mentioned that many people who fought in various wars, and we've lost people from town, or they've lost family members. When they dedicated the post office to the young Turcotte boy, which actually is my son-in-law's cousin, they felt very hurt that nothing was done for other veterans. I really think, and I think this is lovely. He wrote he wants this bench for his mother, who are about, we could both sit on that bench, we're about the same age. She's still living, which is lovely. But maybe we can start something else in town. Call them benches of love, where throughout, on Pacheco, near the gazebo, there's not really benches to sit, nice small benches, and we could have something like that throughout the town. And it would be, the families could do it. But in my heart, and I'm not slighting his mother, please, I think any place that should be done first should be done for veterans. And I'm not saying this isn't a great idea, but I feel if there's anyone that deserves such an honor, it has to be our veterans. You must have had, well, you're too young, forget it. But during my time, kids from this town left and never came back. People that I went to Holy Family with, Desper, never came back. And I would really like to see a dedication to them first. But we could have chairs of love, benches of love, and you could have the way he'd like to have them made, and maybe along the way, I'd like to put a bench here and dedicate it to my mother, which is nice so people can sit. The older people like to walk, but sometimes we need to kind of rejuvenate ourselves halfway through it. So it would be there. But this was so well written, I wouldn't want to hurt that young man. And I knowing all the Catholics, it has to be. Maybe Joe Kozlak had a sister, I think. But I would say no for now. Can we just table it?
You are spot on. I got to tell you, you're spot
Table
on.
it?
I totally agree. I think that if they want to put a bench, there's other areas. That tree out there, I think, is not the spot for it. I
it's
really
just
don't. I don't
that-
think it is. It's It should be reserved, that tree has a lot of history, and I think it should be reserved for, like you said, either a veteran or somebody that does something, firefighter or a police officer that does
someone
something
that-
exceptional, or,
You know, some,
not that this person's not an
caregiver.
exceptional person.
Oh, no.
But this is probably not the place for just a resident to just say, I wanna put a bench. Maybe, let's put one, if they were agreeable, I have no objections to putting it at the gazebo.
yes, and maybe we could get other benches that way, and it'd be nice.
Yeah.
Maybe even stick a father out there on a bench, his name.
Did anybody else wanna add to this?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I feel the same way. I mean, I just don't think we should be popping up benches over town and putting plaques on them. If we want to come up with an idea that we want to maybe put 6 or 9 benches around the gazebo, or if we do something at Hollowell and we want to put a section where maybe we're going to do movies or do concerts and we want to put some benches there, but it's something I think we have to think about and not just start popping up benches and putting people's names on them. I mean, we have adopt-a-spots. People can use adopt-a-spots to, you know, memorialize somebody, or if you want to start doing plaques somewhere, maybe on town somewhere, but.
Or adopt, you know, they used to parts of the streets at one time.
Yeah,
and
the
keep
adopt-a-spots, yeah,
Mm.
but just to put I don't agree with it.
And not to belittle, and I think it was a lovely, lovely thought, but after reading the other letter in the paper, I just feel that we have to honor those who gave their life, and maybe they came home, but they were never the same people, and they could be disabled, etc. So that's my only contention with this. After reading that other letter, one has to come first, and I believe it's the veterans.
Mr. President?
Mrs. Zalinski.
So I was approached with this proposal, and at first blush, it sounded good. I was a little concerned about the red dawn. As we all know, that was thought to be extinct, but they found one in China, and for some reason it was brought here under, somebody was into trees, not an arborist, but someone came and brought it in. It is a very special spot. Now, if you want to see the quality of the bench, you can see it behind the police station in the trike park. There's some benches there, so if
Yeah.
there's consideration about putting up benches where people could donate the benches. The bench itself, at today's price, or at least a couple of weeks ago price, was $1,500. And if one wished to put a plaque, and there should be some uniformity to the bench, and the bench would be the
Yeah.
same type bench. The plaque is an additional $300. Now, if I gotta be careful here, right? Did Jamie was going to install that bench, or at least would your DPW install benches if we had a project move forward like this?
Yeah, we have it installed, I would have him, yeah, he'd have to be working for us to do it.
Yeah, okay. So, not a bad idea. A few folks mentioned the gazebo, there's Pacheco Park, what's gonna go on in Hallowell. It's not a bad idea. I think it's actually has a lot of merit to it, but the location is what's tantamount where it goes.
That's my problem, the location.
Yeah. I think first dibs should be for those who gave their lives and served their country.
Could we ask you to reach out to them again and just tell them that it's the location we're really not keen on, or, and we,
Yeah, I can do that,
or
sure.
maybe
Think
we
of
come
the
up with a
other-
plan where,
yeah.
like Ms. Alves said, maybe we can do, start taking donations for a certain area where we're gonna put 7 or 9 benches, or maybe around the gazebo, and
Right, top of my head, without giving it, sure, we'll have a plan. But out in front of the building here, we're going to be installing a flag. I mean, the nation's flag and the state's flag has to be out there. You may want to consider putting 2 benches in close proximity to that. You'll see, as y'all know, Green Street, there's a lot of pedestrian people out there
Yes,
with
a
their
lot of
dogs, a lot of baby carriages. I would like to see it very welcoming and have, maybe not under the Red Dawn, but in front of Town Hall, maybe go to the back park, because there are plans to use that area much more with the gazebo, and we have bands and whatnot. I know, not to put you on the spot, Councilor Ralph's talked about and has facilitated putting movies out at Pacheco Park.
Mhm.
So these are the type of things we should be looking at, making it more inviting, more comfortable for folks.
we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Good.
Anybody else have any comments?
Just a point of order. We need to extend our meeting. You've run
Okay.
it past 10 o'clock.
Wow, we never go this late, huh?
I know.
Is there a
I make a motion, we extend it for 15 minutes. We should be able to wrap this up in 15 minutes, right, Cynthia?
Second.
That she does.
Roll call is for extending the meeting. We have Ms. Alves seconded that.
Yes.
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 Yes, so we will not take any action unless somebody wants to make a motion. We will just not take any action on this issue.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Discussion by council vote on other action on penalties and tax adjustments. Mr. Jesus.
Hi, yes, I'm asking town council to adjust 3 of our taxpayers' motor vehicle taxes. They are deceased, and the amount is $729.44.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Jesus? We have a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the tax adjustments in the amount of $729.44 as per the direction of the finance director.
Thank you. We have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Discussion by council vote on other action on additional funding for senior classes at Scouters Hall. Okay, I asked for this to be put on the agenda. I was speaking with Linda Tebow, a former town administrator, and is also head of the seniors. Mrs. Zielinski, what's the organization that she works for? Aging Well. Okay, and currently, as Ray knows, right now they have Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. On Tuesdays they have mindfulness meditation. On Thursdays they have Keep Moving with Elaine. And on Friday they have line dancing with Fran at 1:30 and ballroom dancing with Fran at 2:15. And currently they are just about out of funds in order to keep these classes going. What we're looking for here is approval. Mr. Jesus, do we have the money? Did we find the money for this?
Yes, I'm going to actually borrow it, from DPW. I'm going to take it from the community, from the community services
So
line.
we have the money to do this?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm looking for
Right.
is approval. I'm looking for $2,500 to be approved to continue this project going until, the end of March. Oh, no, we only have funding till the end of March.
Right.
And this funding will continue till April, May, and June.
At the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for.
We have $4,500, Cynthia?
25.
It's $2,500,
Oh,
yes.
$2,500.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Ms. Alves?
I'd like to make a motion to approve transfer of $2,500 from DPW, community? Parks and Rec
Sorry.
budget under community activities to transfer to the senior line item in our budget to continue with classes through June.
Thank you. We have a second on this?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comments? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Transfer a request from advertising finance to town appropriation, North Smithfield Library.
Yeah. Yes, last year, we had lowered the contribution amount that the town gives the library, and was actually called from Sue over at the library that they have a maintenance of effort like the school, and we weren't allowed to lower the contribution, the appropriation that we give them, so it was short $792. So I'm asking the town council to approve my transferring from advertising the finance line of $792 to the town appropriation of the North Smithfield Library.
The library has a maintenance of effort?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, They get funding from the state, and so we have to put a level of funding to match to get that
Exactly.
certain amount from the state. If we don't match it, we won't get the state money.
Exactly.
So
And they have,
the $792
not worth
is probably gonna equate to $30,000 that the library gets from the state.
right.
We give it twice, we get more?
No.
No,
My math's always better.
yes, we can't reduce.
I didn't realize that we lowered it. Last year, when we did the whole new line of, chart of accounts and everything, it was kinda hard to follow the budget, and so.
Yeah, it was lowered by $792. They called me and brought it to my attention the other day. So I just wanted to
Mr. President, I make a
rectify that.
motion that we transfer $792 from the advertising finance line into the line item for town appropriation for North Smithfield Library for $792.
Thank you. We have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on North Smithfield School Department. Mr. Jesus?
Yes, the school department contacted me, right before their committee meeting last week and asked if I would go to town council and redirect their, capital monies that usually we, give them during the budget season, and it was for RIDE reimbursable capital projects. They are asking to just change the definitions of those so they can, have a high school paging system put in and a key scan system put in at all the schools. The high school paging system will cost is $36,970, and they did go out on the Rhode Island MPA. And this key scan system is $29,928.70, and they also utilized the state of Rhode Island MPA. So basically, they're just asking for the definition of the capital monies to be changed from Rhode Island reimbursable capital projects to those two following projects.
Speaking of maintenance of effort, this does not affect that?
I'm sorry?
This will not affect maintenance of effort for the schools?
No.
Okay.
No, this is capital. We gave
Okay.
them, we approved $100,000 in capital for them, and what we usually do is put it in Fund 60, and they use it for reimbursable projects. This is not, I just want to make sure that this is transparent, this is not, they won't get any any capital reimbursement from RIDE for these two projects.
Okay.
So that 35-40% that they usually get, these don't apply to that.
These aren't part of that.
Right, and that's why they wanted the definitions to the descriptions of them to change.
They need to clarify it so they can get reimbursement on any other things, but not this one.
Okay.
Not these two projects, yeah, so.
Mr. President, I make a motion.
Hold on, she was just, Ms. Alves was speaking.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to change the definition of account 1-101-4821-59000 from RIDE reimbursable capital projects to high school paging system, and account 1-101-4821-59000 RIDE reimbursable capital projects to key scan system, per the direction of the finance director.
Thank you. That's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Did you have anything else, Mr. Jesus? Yeah.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, to award the bid.
Award the-
Sorry. I'm forgetting that was just the transfer. The North Smithfield School Department submitted a recommendation to contract with ATG Group for the key scan system in the amount of $29,928.70, and that was utilized in the state of Rhode Island MPA 419. They also submitted a recommendation to contract with American Teleconnect Services Incorporated for the high school paging system in the amount of $36,970, and that's utilized in the state of Rhode Island MPA number 404, and both funding will come from the capital school account.
Okay, should we do this in two separate motions?
Oh, sorry, that was too separate.
Mr. President,
Mr. Vadney?
I make a motion that we award the bid to ATG Group off the MPA for a key scan system in the amount of $29,928.70.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from Ms. Alves. Roll call, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. Corvo?
Yes.
Ms. O'Hara?
Yeah.
Mr. Badnees?
Yes.
Mr. Biragad?
Yes. And then for the contract for American Telecom Services?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to award the bid to American Teleconnect Services, Inc. for the high school paging system in the amount of $36,970, utilizing the state of Rhode Island MPA number 404, and it's going to come from the school capital account.
Thank you. It's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Did you catch that, Joanne? 2 seconds. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 She said yes. She beat you to it.
Because you're going there.
Yes.
Yes. That's everything, right?
1 minute.
What?
Nothing.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was
Get
a
up.
long one tonight.